the most silver is consumed as an industrial metal today. 70% of all silver consumption is on the industrial side, and we're seeing growing industrial demand, whether it's in electronics or in the EV revolution.
We'd like to talk to you first about your perspectives on the overall macro silver and financial environment we find ourselves in. So if you can, our viewers are quite conversant in the sort of the plight of value destruction that people are subject to right now, and risk of systemic failure of banking and credit markets and everything like that. But your personal main points that you think about as salient that you believe people need to be aware of, and we also will have some first-time viewers watching this who are just joining our channel for the first time. So don't hesitate to share what are the things that you look at the most with the most interest about our current macro environment. Perhaps you can look at it from a financial perspective and then an industry perspective regarding the mining industry.
That's a great question, and my view and what makes me passionate and what's made me want to focus, my efforts and my career on silver right now is that through my experience, back when I started in the mining business over 18 years ago, I got involved with the gold project in central Canada at a time where gold was going from $300 an ounce to $1,900 an ounce. And I helped build a mining company at that time where we employed 600 people. We took a company from inception to $1.5 billion market cap, and it was a lot of work done. Again, it was tremendous amount of effort, blood, sweat, tears. I personally made as much money on a passive silver investment that went up in 6 months to the same degree that building a gold mine over a 7-year period took. So for me, through studying history and through personal experience, I know when silver moves, it moves up violently. And, after we had gold correct from 1900 to 1000, and as we started this next leg up in the precious metals, I wanted to get as much exposure to silver as possible. And, we're coming off the March 2020 low where the silver to gold ratio got to 125 to 1. It's currently around 70 to 1. But if you look at what's coming out of gold and silver mines globally, for every 8 ounces of silver that are being produced, 1 ounce of gold is being produced, not 70 to 1, not 125 to 1. And we've got historic relationships of 15 to 30 to 1. Even if you examine the last 100 years, it's probably around 60 to 1. So, I think silver, it's rich monetary history, but also, there's the most silver is consumed as an industrial metal today. 70% of all silver consumption is on the industrial side, and we're seeing growing industrial demand, whether it's in electronics or in the EV revolution. And so I'm seeing growing industrial demand at a time where it's more and more difficult to get mine supply. And considering that only 30% of silver comes from pure silver mines, when you look at the base metal mines, the copper mines, the zinc mines that are getting difficulty getting permitted or difficulty getting water, and you look at, where are we going to get the future world silver? And so for all of those reasons, I've devoted, starting in about 2018, I started to focus my efforts on silver, and it was 2 years ago that I came across Dolly Varden and took over as CEO, and it was because I wanted to get as much exposure to silver for what we're seeing here, and in that 2-year period, we've seen the price start to move off the bottom. We've seen about a 50% move up from the lows, but I think we've got a long way to go considering we are 50% off the all-time high in silver.
Two things you just mentioned there that I want to touch on. One is you talked about a pure silver company, and that's not common. As you mentioned, 30% of silver only is being mined by pure silver mining companies. Usually it's a byproduct of something else, a gold or something else that's being mined. Why is that so rare? Is it a geological phenomenon that's just the way the minerals were laid down by Mother Nature, and that's why they're being found? And are there jurisdictions where there are pure silver deposits, and are those jurisdictions not all made equal, and some are more accessible or more lower risk, et cetera, than others as far as investors should be concerned?
That's a really good question. So yeah, what we're seeing when big silver gets thrown off by what is referred to as porphyry deposits. So it's, you're getting some of these are some of the biggest mines on the planet, and they're typically polymetallic. So typically you'll see like a moly copper mine that's got a silver credit, and you can get a tremendous amount of silver coming out of a porphyry. When you were talking about pure silver mines, which represent 30% of the silver market, those are typically epithermal or vein systems generally. And those are typically found in countries like Chile, Argentina, Mexico, and Peru. And in the industry, we actually refer to it as the CAMP. We use the acronym CAMP. And if we take a look at each of those jurisdictions, starting in Chile and also talking about Peru, we've seen some recent political changes and some pretty aggressive language coming from those newly appointed in those jurisdictions about nationalization of some industries, higher taxes. We're seeing that throughout Mexico, and Argentina once again is going through another currency crisis, and it's very difficult to get money out of the country. So when you find a mine in a place like Nevada or in Canada, whether it's in the Yukon or Northwest BC, those are quite rare and special in my opinion, because those are politically safe jurisdictions. And so, I look at my company, Dolly Varden, and I think that we are quite rare amongst a unique group of pure silver mines.